open.
I'm so open. Oh, we didn't hear that. I gotta hear it again. Oh wait, get your mic in.
Turns out it wasn't actually even plugged in, but I am open.
Let's go.
Nice. Oh. All right.
A lot of players this week were open. A lot of Summit players were open. A lot of Shred players were open, and a lot of Windchill players were open.
A lot of Soul players were open
Soul
too.
players
There
were
was a
open.
lot of being open this weekend.
Yes, there was.
Oof. Yeah. Well, I admittedly I did not watch any. That's not true. I watched some of. Which game was it? Oh, I watched some of Dallas Tampa Bay, of course. But
game week, yeah.
Yeah, that was the only game I was able to catch because I was I was on a road trip this weekend.
Oh, where'd you go?
I went to Carlsbad Caverns National Park.
Nice.
It was pretty crazy. I was down there during the what's it called? The World Club Open final between Pony and Ring. So I was walking around in the cave and then I emerged and read the results that Pony won. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
I guess while we're dumping, we can talk about in the past week. We were all pretty locked in on the World Games, and I definitely was watching at work. I'm sure other people here were too. Don't tell my boss.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Actually, my boss saw me and made fun of me for watching it.
Yeah, I have a coworker who used to play in the AUDL, and we were watching it together when bosses were at meetings. So it was nice.
Mm. Did you have a favorite game from the tournament that you watched?
That was it. That Clapham Ring game that ended up being way closer than it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the pool play or whatever.
Pools.
What's up?
That was power pools though, right?
Yeah.
That was a good game.
Yeah, I want to say yes, the lunchbox hybrid was it a quarterfinal, I think? Yeah, I think it was a quarterfinal because then lunchbox lost in the semis, but that was a really close game. That was a great watch. I watched most of the streamed Pony games and then they were all just like blowouts, basically.
Who was the team that beat Sockeye? It was like a Belgium team, right?
Yeah, the Moon Catchers.
Yeah, that's the game I was trying to figure out. I was trying to remember their name. That game was so good.
That I take the other game back because I just forgot about this one, but that was my favorite game I watched because it was so the whole way.
Yeah.
So many key plays, like a turn here, a drop there. The foot block that everyone thought was a hand block. That was key.
That was great. And then I really enjoyed. I remember we were texting during the Phoenix. Maybe it was just me and Alu texting during the Phoenix Brute Squad game, and we were just like, "All these people are from DC. Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
I guess I didn't know that's where the conversation was going to start, but maybe it's apropos that I'm repping DC today. But yeah, it's true. We were like, what if all these people just got together and just made a DC team? They'd probably be very good.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, what did I miss? What's going on?
Not much.
There was a bunch of people open this weekend. I'm open, Alu. I don't know about you.
I'm open.
Good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it.
What's going on?
Why wasn't DC Scandal there? Or are they just not good enough? Because that team's pretty good, right?
Are they still a thing? I assume they are, but
I think so.
Yeah, looks like they are. It says it says they finished 7th at Nationals in 2019, and I want to say that's how they did the
I think you need to be top. Yeah, I think you need to be top 4 to get the World's bid.
Damn. Oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if all those fucking players had stayed in DC. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Worlds.
Yeah.
Okay, but also can we shout out Chicago machine, and we'll see them there next year because we got many friends on that team. Many
do
friends
have
of
a
the
lot of
pod
friends.
on the
Indeed.
machine.
Oh God, do I have to root for
Hopefully we'll see
Chicago
them next
Machine?
year.
I might just be rooting for Chicago Machine this year. I can't even help it.
Shit, yeah. Until we get some Empire guys to come on here. But
Yeah.
they're stonewalling us.
I do want to say before we get into AUDL, the last thing I want to say about the club championships. I just thought the level of competition was incredible. All the games were awesome. I especially was just super hooked on all the women's games. I feel like those seemed just a lot more closely contested. It was some good freaking frisbee, and the production quality was amazing. Like, so shout out to all the crew that was doing that. Like, the viewer experience was amazing. So yeah, it was very entertaining. So good job, everyone. It looked like a fun time too to everyone who was there. Saw some silent disco happening or something after. So
yeah.
seemed
No,
like
I'm still mad Schmidt didn't invite us to play with his team.
No. What the
Picked
hell?
up a bunch of Tulane guys. Didn't pick us.
Yeah, what gives?
Not like we have something.
Yeah, come on. Well, here we are, the end of the road. We have finished week 14, and we have to, I think, cement our tiers until next year, probably.
Well,
Yeah.
are we allowed to switch it like in the playoffs?
I think we cement our tiers, but also we don't cement our tiers, and we have guests on in the summer, and they can argue, and then because they're on the pod, we can change it.
I think we should change it. This is definitely like regular season is over. This is like the regular season, but like, I mean, if the wind chill win it all, like we can't keep them in B tier. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like we should still be able to change it, but that's just me.
I agree with you, but also it feels a little cop outy to just like put whoever wins at the top and be like, look at how smart we are.
Yeah.
I guess, but I mean, it's about like who's the best team. You know, it's not.
No, you're right.
You know, like if I think the best team should be at the top at the end. I don't know, maybe not. Is
I think
it like?
I don't know. I just think it's fun to kind of just like freeze it. So then as we go through the playoffs, like we can see like how it shakes out based on like, and it can be funny, when a team from B is like in the final or whatever, if that were to happen.
Okay.
We could also, sorry, you keep going.
No, I was just going to say, and then once we get to next year and unfreeze it, we can like move the champion up based on whatever, or, whatever.
Yeah, I like that. And we'll talk about like during the playoffs, we'll have different like posts, like talks, like, because we don't need to talk about the teams that aren't in the playoffs. So we'll only need to talk about like 3 to 4 teams. No need to have a whole team. We'll figure it out. But to start off the tier talk, I need to make a big change. There is not a dynamic duo in this league. We just watched the Wind Chill play the Mechanics, and I just watched, I don't even think an AUDL team. There was a stretch of from the first quarter to the last quarter where Detroit just couldn't complete a pass, and Wind Chill would just score. So I don't think the Legion deserve to be in the same tier as the Mechanics. I think there needs to be a Mechanics tier.
Yeah, and also the Legion did smack the Cannons.
Yep.
Yeah. And
So
until the Cannons, Legion, and Mechanics can all play each other, or the Mechanics can play different teams, like, oh my God, that game today was tough to watch. It was funny. I was watching it with my roommate, and we were just laughing at every single turn. Like, literally, they would get a D, throw it right away. They had a stretch of 6 points in a row where the Wind Chill would just throw it to the sideline and do a double team, and they threw a hammer every time and couldn't get a completion.
I wondered, seeing that score and seeing the Seoul score, they beat the Cannons 30-10. I was wondering if there was like, because well, as Evan Lepler pointed out, Chicago and Colorado had to kind of beat down their opponents to rise above Carolina in the plus minus. So I was wondering if like the Soul and Winchell were doing something like that, in case like some 2 seeds win, but no, they were just winning by that much.
Yeah.
Isn't it wild that Minnesota won and they still didn't even win by the most of anybody this week?
They were up, I think, by like it was something like 3 or 4 or something like not huge at halftime, and then the second half came. It was because the Winchell weren't playing that great like all game, but the Mechanics were just so much worse.
I think there was a lot of wind. Just to get that out there, like there was some points, like the one that you said, Ryan, that had like how many turns like total, like on both teams.
God. It was an 8.5 or 7.5 minute point.
Yeah, I think the wind has something to do with that. But yeah, I don't know. I can't explain everything that happened in that game. I was watching up until I watched up until that like insane like buzzer beater thing. And
This
yeah,
one?
Yep. Was it really only 6:40? I thought it was longer.
that's still so long. And
One, two,
so many
three,
turns.
4, 5, 6. 6 turns?
No, that's not it. Because
7:31.
What?
No, that's the clock,
yeah.
right? Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, we definitely need to shout out this play that happened too. Like it was one of the most insane frisbee plays that you'll probably ever see. And
You mean
yeah, so
score as it's
yes, yeah.
as it's written here?
It was a 51 yarder. That's crazy. Yeah, so it was like a double team through the legs. It got blocked by the Mechanics player, and then there's the clock is at 0, right? And then it gets tipped, and Cam Brock tweeted, I saw he pointed out, and I think correctly, that it actually
Wait, it's right there, Sam. It's right there.
Oh,
I think it technically goes against the rules to like intentionally tip the disc forward, like the dude did. But I think
I was wondering.
I think rightfully the refs were like, "Fuck it," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah. I think the refs were just like, you know what, this is Mechanics.
Wait, check the
It's the
quote
last
tweets.
game.
Check the quote tweets if Cam Brock quote tweeted it.
Well, I just want to say
I
this
don't think he did.
reply says it all.
Yep.
Wow, what a play.
What a play. No, I think he just tweeted, but I mean, he's not wrong, but also like, I think it's for the good of the sport that it's just, they just let it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah. Does anybody want to make a guess on who had more turnovers, or do you remember from us quickly bringing up these stats who had more turnovers, Mechanics, or Tampa?
Ooh, I know how many the Mechanics had, but I have no idea how many Tampa had.
I'm gonna guess the Mechanics.
I think the Mechanics had more turns.
Well, the Mechanics had 40 turns, and the Tampa Bay Cannons had 43.
Oh,
Yeah.
What happened to the Cannons?
Hold on.
Guys.
Let's do. They both played double headers. Let's see.
You're right.
We all weekend long. All right, so we've got 24 in this game for Detroit.
that's
And
64.
29 for the Cannons.
So
Wow.
Cannons take it.
Yeah, 70. What?
Cannons
2?
by 8.
The petition, it still stands.
All right,
Oh
so
my
72 turns in one weekend. Do we think that's a record?
It's possible. I don't know.
It's not, because after this game I looked up the total, and like there was one game alone where a team had 73 or 74 turns.
Good God.
But maybe they didn't play a doubleheader.
Yeah. Well,
Never know.
Yeah, what if they only had 60 turnovers and they only played one game? They're nothing.
it was what's it called? It was because back in the day the games were longer, I think. That's how they got so high.
Makes sense.
So before we move on, I know we just moved the Cannons up, but what in God's name happened this weekend? Did they lose like 10-30 or something
Yes,
to the Legion?
that's
Yes.
exactly
To the
correct.
soul. Oh
Did
no.
they just beat the Legion? What happened? Sasha.
No, they lost by that to the Soul, and then they lost by like 8 to the Legion.
Oh, okay. That's right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Forgive me,
So.
Sasha. But still, cannons. What, do we really move them up? I don't know, man.
It's tough. It's tough, but they do have that one win.
They have a
The Mechanics do
win,
not.
man. But I feel
They're
so
definitely
bad.
here.
Mechanics, like you guys. I had an idea as I was watching the game, like for like a content idea. I'm like, what if I watched every single Mechanics game this year, like every minute of every Mechanics game, and just like gave like a review of their season, like or just chronicled my experience. Because what's going on with that team? You know, I'm just really curious, but it's tough, man. I feel bad. They haven't won in 6 years.
Yeah.
And
that was
they played Pittsburgh 3 times this year. Couldn't
I
pull out
know
a
they
win.
couldn't sneak one out against like Pittsburgh or something. Like,
Yeah.
man, I don't know. It's like something's going on. Like, I guess just the talent just doesn't
not
get
just any-
destroyed.
They're just not good. Like
We
Yeah.
still need the Cannons Mechanics face off
Yeah,
showdown
know.
we got enough
at
signatures.
championship weekend. Yeah, we got 100. That's what the AUDL said we had to get, and then
Mhm.
they would do it.
We're
So-
coming for you, AUDL.
There's just
Because I still think Detroit would win, as bad as they are.
yeah. Dude, I'm rooting for him. Maybe I'll get some Mechanics merch, you know.
I mean,
cause.
if you think the Mechanics win that game as bad as they are, then we need to have a very real conversation about this last tier, because this is the last time we can move anybody around.
That's true. But
Yeah.
I think since, you know, whether it's scheduling or not, since they are the only winless team, they have to be down there by themselves, I believe.
Yeah.
The Cannons, they did their part. They pulled out a win. So I
Mhm.
can't fault them there.
Yeah, I expected the Cannons to lose both of the Dallas games, so
While we're
they
talking about
earned it.
Cannons, shout out Kansas player 10 Hedges. He made a highlight video of the game that they won.
Yes.
I think that, oh my god, that had me dying. That was something. I love that. And then at the end, when they finally got the win, and it was great. It was a terrific video.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that was amazing. The last thing I will say on the Mechanics, sorry, is that guy who follows us on Twitter, Kevin, who he's like an Oklahoma Christian guy who like interacts with us on Twitter.
Mhm.
I think he got injured today, so we wish you the absolute best. He seemed like he was all right, but he had to get kind of like helped off. So I hope you're doing all right,
Yeah,
Kevin.
Speedy recovery.
Speedy recovery. Go Mechanics, honestly. But
Yeah,
it's
we want
tough,
to see
man.
him playing at championship weekend.
We want to see you
The
out
showdown.
there. Yeah.
All
Damn.
right, so we've covered like 3 teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I want to speak on the F tier.
Okay.
I think that these 3 teams are a lot worse than these 3 teams.
Yeah.
And there might even be a divide, a tier divide between them.
Are you saying like an F minus, or are you just saying like?
I'm saying, maybe we move these 3 up here. Maybe that means we have to bring back D to separate these guys. But honestly, like, these 3 teams to me fit more with this group than this group.
I like adding a tier, and this is totally off the cuff, but what if we call it the Canada tier, because we don't know what the Canada teams can be good or bad. And same with the Glory, it's like sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. They're kind of like a Canada team.
So we're putting Glory in Canada in that case?
Exactly.
Okay.
Why don't we just do it?
Toronto.
Why don't we just do a D? Why don't we just add a D tier, and let's not strain our diplomatic relations with our neighboring country.
That's fair.
I think we do D tier, and then all those like that Aviators kind of tier can all move up, or we can talk about it. We can kind of sort them. Who from E belongs in D? Who from E and F should go up to D? Or how should we do this?
Well,
I
let's
think
start with, should we say
more
these
each-
three up to E? Since
Sure.
that was the catalyst
Yeah,
for
I
this.
mean, I think there's an argument about Ottawa not moving up.
Yeah, like Ottawa's terrible.
I agree,
I
but
mean,
they're
keep playing. Yeah, they keep playing better than a 2-win team.
yeah, they're only
they
minus
just-
42 on the year.
Man,
Yeah, like
the Breeze clapped them at home.
So like the Nitro are minus 70, the Cannons are
Oh.
minus 88, and Detroit's minus.
Oh no! Why did you have to pull
Dallas is
that up,
minus
Sam? Sam, no.
Wow,
Who
the
has the
Rush are
highest
minus
positive?
58.
Is the Empire?
Yeah, the Empire at
gotta
plus
be.
100.
Well, wait. So
Oh,
what's Royal?
that's
So
sick.
Royal
Next
hold on.
highest is 63.
Royals minus 41.
That's the next highest.
Yes.
Oh my god,
That's-
Empire gonna
that's
smoke
ridiculous.
everyone.
Oh my god.
So the worst in this division is actually the Rush.
The Rush are not good.
All right, so the
They're not even
Outlaws,
good.
they lost to the Glory by 1. They beat Montreal by 3. They also lost to Montreal by 3. They lost to the Breeze back to back by 7 twice.
They took half against the Empire.
They took half against the Empire, but they also lost by 12 to the Empire. And they lost by 3 to the Rush, and they beat Boston by 2. And they lost to Phoenix by 1 once early on.
I think
don't
they've I would not for the life of me. Okay, well the Nitro had that close game against the Summit. So that's kind of similar to the Ottawa's close game against the Empire. That's tough.
That kind of evens it out.
But the Nitro
the
just been so
Nitro.
bad. They're
What
so bad.
happened to them too? I was like, man, what happened, Nitro? They looked pretty good
All
early
right.
on.
All right, we gotta.
Here, let's how it is.
Portland is minus 70. Ottawa's minus 42 with the Empire in their division. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
With a lot, I feel like the East is
Yeah.
probably the strongest top to bottom.
Mm.
Like Ottawa had never really got the wins, but they're okay.
Yeah, they're okay.
I don't know. Could squeak
Not-
one out, an extra one out over Boston. They couldn't, I don't know.
And yeah, but like does squeaking a couple extra scores out against Boston like change my opinion of Ottawa that much? Like
I think if it does for me a little bit, like 2 wins, like that's tough. It's been
All right.
same-
Well, when it's this close, why don't we like think about the vibes of Ottawa as a team? Like do they have an F vibe to them in the way that these teams do?
like look at like they're better than
They
the
don't.
Cannons. They're better than the
Okay.
Legion, I think.
Quick looking at the last game. The Union just beat the Radicals by 6. The Radicals are C tier and Union's A tier. The Breeze are A tier and they just beat Ottawa by 7. It's not like they smoked Ottawa and we're talking moving them all the way down to F. Do we move the
Okay.
Radicals down?
we can get there.
Well, that's
I-
interesting. That's an interesting topic.
I think
Yeah.
that I think Ottawa is good enough to be E, but they just had some unfortunate results.
Okay.
That's kind of
I-
what I'd
I
say
can
about them.
I can live with that. You've convinced
Yeah.
me. The East is
I think
they had
so
to play
too.
they had to play the Empire like
Mhm.
twice.
Meanwhile, the Aviators have 4 wins that were each by 1 point. So like 2 turns here and there, and they're 2-10 too. So
They're such
Yeah.
a fringe team without Everest, but also they're kind of my favorite team to watch because you just know what they're getting up to the night before and the night after. And then like
right.
you just know those guys are going hard.
All right. So let's get into our D. First, let's see who from E should go up, and then we'll talk about people going down. to
I
D.
like the gap. I say we just keep it as it is.
What are we at wins wise here? So the Spiders have 4 Aviators.
Four.
Aviators and Spiders have the same record, and the Aviators just beat them by only 1. So wherever the Spiders go, the Aviators have to go. I feel like they're in the same like.
These teams all have 4 wins.
Spiders are even better. They have a better plus minus like by a lot. So
Boston also has 4 wins. So it's 4, 4, 4, 4, 2, 4, 4, 2.
We can look at all the numbers, but I feel like it all depends on opponents and matchups, and especially plus and minus. What are you guys feeling? Like when you look at the teams, we've been like engaged the whole year. We've talked about tiers every week. Like, what do you guys think? Like, I feel like there's a clear break between like Pittsburgh and the Rush. That's what I see.
I'm gonna off the cuff here real quick. I'm gonna lightning round my feelings. I'm gonna say up, up, down, 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 up, down.
Wait,
Okay.
so the Royal goes up?
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I think the Rush are better than Pittsburgh.
Interesting.
yeah, I agree with that. Well,
Like they have a worse plus minus and they have some ugly losses, but they like I was looking at stats aren't everything, but I was looking at the season leaders. We've got the leader in blocks is on the Rush, and then the 4th in goals players on the Rush. Like they have a lot of talented guys.
yeah, they gave DC a real scare. Yeah, I kind of agree. Okay, if we're going vibes, I think I have Aviators, Spiders D. I think I have Pittsburgh E. I think I have Rush D, and then Cascades Glory E. I have Montreal and Ottawa E, honestly, but I mean we can talk about moving Montreal up, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Montreal, I just don't get them. This whole season I don't
get 'em
understand
either.
them. And then I kind of said put them up just because I think they're better than Toronto, and that was kind of my whole thing. But I don't actually even know if that's true. I don't even know if that's the case.
I don't know that they are either. They're very similar, honestly, very similar.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't know. Maybe we keep them down because their announcers speak in French a lot of the time. Nothing against French. I just I can't understand it while I'm watching the play. I don't know what's going on. Nothing against the French language. Nothing against our Canadian friends up north. Just I.
This is not a good episode for Canadian fans.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so the discussion is between these 2 teams right now. I think we're all set on these 3 being down here and Pittsburgh being down here.
Yeah.
If we're going vibes, I like Rush above, but I don't know if they've really on paper earned that right. I just remember watching that game against DC and they looked really good. And they also looked really bad too. So
I feel like the best Toronto played was certainly better than Montreal, but also the worst that Toronto played was a lot worse. And so I don't know.
Where are they?
So we have to say,
Like,
let me just say this. Like if we like post this out and people say, why did you have Oakland and Aviators above, these other 4-win teams? How can we justify that? Why do they belong above those teams?
Mm-hmm.
They're not good.
That's what we need to say. That's what we need to talk about right now. You know what I mean? Like if we're gonna have them above, why?
Right. Yeah, well, we obviously have our Aviators bias.
That's fair.
But I mean, we've watched them play. It's close games with good teams, honestly, and then it's they just don't have the ability to get breaks pretty much, which would bring them to a mediocre team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they have a lot of talent and they can sort of hang with good teams.
Yeah.
Whereas the Spiders just started beating teams really badly for some reason.
And the Spiders, they lost a lot against good teams, but they, for the most part, I think except for last week when they lost to the Aviators.
The Aviators beat them.
Yeah, they beat all of the teams below them. I think they won all of their games against Cascades, and like I don't remember. I don't know if they played twice against the Nitro, but I remember the second game against, or at least the most recent game against the Nitro was like a blowout.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I feel like if Cascades are E tier, like I see a real jump between them and the Spiders.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Okay.
So that being said, so these are like our tests for what an E team is. And so when we're talking about promoting these teams, we should think, how would they do relative to these guys?
It's tough to say. I
I
mean,
think Montreal would
Rush is
handle business against Seattle. That's my opinion.
the Rush have literally played Boston. So how did those games go?
I got the Rush schedule up right now. The Rush beat Boston by 2. The Rush beat Montreal by 1.
God, Rush lost to Boston 13-23.
Yeah, they also lost to Boston by 10, and they lost to Montreal by 7 at home.
Oh man, Rush.
Yeah.
Oh,
Montreal
not
beat
doing yourselves
Phoenix.
any favors. Montreal beat Phoenix.
Yeah,
Maybe
Montreal also lost to the Outlaws a couple weeks ago.
They also beat the Outlaws.
Yeah,
Maybe these teams are just all the same. I don't know.
they're all the same. They're all the same team. It's just one has to win.
I don't know how long we're into this pod, but like we're spending all this time on the E tier when it's like none
the
of them
most
made the
important.
playoffs. It's not the most important. It's
Well, we're
they're
not gonna get to talk about
good.
them again.
Yeah, this is our last tier talk. We gotta
And-
make sure everyone gets their due diligence.
Exactly. And
you gotta earn your due diligence. Like, come on.
I think this is more interesting though, because it's like, how in God's name can we differentiate these teams? I think once you get higher up,
Yeah.
it's a little more obvious. But these are
Right.
just, this is like such a shit show in the bottom that like I'm kind
We're
of
also-
enjoying. Just
We're
like,
talking
wait.
in generalities, and all these games, like they could be missing players during certain games, and that's why
yeah, we have no
lost
idea.
by 2 here or 1 by 4 there. Like people miss all the time, and they're key.
Yeah.
Like frisbee players, if you're missing your center handler, your whole offensive dynamics off. You're missing your deep on defense. Like we can't point to one game or one stat.
Okay.
It's
It's vibes.
vibes.
I like that.
I will say that Toronto might have put up the fewest number of points in a game this whole season when they only put up 8 against the Empire.
Pittsburgh also put up 8 against
Okay.
Chicago.
Okay, if we have the Rush above Pittsburgh, like, is the Rush really above Pittsburgh, or do they just belong with Pittsburgh? I feel like they're pretty similar to Pittsburgh.
I would be pretty comfortable picking a Rush victory over Pittsburgh.
Over
but
Pittsburgh. Are we comfortable with all the teams in D? Like we feel like they beat all the teams in E.
for the most part.
Oh
Well,
man, the Cascades have beaten the Aviators and the Spiders this season. So,
yeah, and the Outlaws also.
Yeah.
but it's
I wanna
vibes.
say
It's vibes.
It's
too.
vibes. And I also want to say neutral site. And instead of thinking like bring their best team, think like bring their average team from this year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Boston, Seattle's teams they're not going to bring very good teams, but these teams are a little more consistent.
Yeah.
So in a scenario like that, I think I'm comfortable with the D teams over the E teams.
And you know what? Like I feel pretty good about completion percentage as like a metric. I feel like it kind of separates teams, and like I feel pretty good about like where we're at in this discussion, how we have these teams so similar. Because when you look at it, it's literally Aviators, Thunderbirds, Rush, Outlaws, Glory, Cascades, like and complete. They're like all next to each other. Like it's very similar. They're very similar teams. So I don't know.
All right,
Yeah.
lock it in.
I'm fine with that. I can live with it.
Cool.
Spiders are higher than Phoenix and Shred in terms of completion percentage.
They really turned it around. All right, let's get into our C teams. And I think even though not all of these teams made the playoffs, they're definitely not on the level of these D teams, I would say.
I would feel pretty good about the Rascals beating like the Aviators.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, if Everest Shapiro is back in the lineup, like that's a good game. It's a good game.
Yeah.
But I don't know, maybe like, you know, the Aviators peak performance isn't as good as like, you know, the peak of the Rascals bringing down
because they
Minnesota
took
at
down
home.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Honestly, I think as is the C tier, it looks pretty good.
I mean, we can talk about how Hustle just beat Alley Cats.
Yeah, but they're not in the playoffs, so
No,
We're talking about at the current moment the tier list, and I feel like we have to at least discuss it. I'm not saying
we do.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
need to talk about this. I
If
think
you're
the
a Hustle
Hustle.
fan and you're watching this, you're like, what the fuck? We just beat these guys, but you're saying they're better than us, like, because
No, I think the Hustle are better.
the game that they weren't playing for anything, and also it was in Atlanta.
but they won.
Yeah, they won, but they won by like 2 in a meaningless game at home. You know, like if that's in Indianapolis,
The Hustle are
maybe it
like
goes the other way.
8. The Hustle are 8-4,
Yeah, the Hustle
and
are really good.
and the Alley Cats are 6-6, and
we're just okay
the
with
Hustle are plus 36, and the Alley Cats are plus 7. I mean, the Hustle are a better team. I feel like.
that's
They
what
just-
I'm saying. Like,
I agree. I think we should move. I'm sorry, Cam Brock. Like, I know you're listening and you're taking notes right now, but and you're in the playoffs, and my Alley Cats hat still hasn't come in the mail, but when it does, I will be wearing it, watching every Alley Cats playoff game, and you know, rooting you, cheering you on. But I think the Hustle, like, even if we don't like move tiers, like drag the Hustle to the top of the C tier. Like, I think they're better than the Phoenix too. Like, but
I just want to say that Cam, if you're listening and everybody's being mean to you, I'm still on your side because you're my teammate in Mini, and you should want
Wow,
to be my
Joe.
teammate again.
Joe, you
Cam,
got a lot of work to
Please
do.
don't leave me. Please don't leave me.
You got a lot of work to do, Joe.
I love you, and I feel like you have to respect this take. Like, if you guys want to be up ahead of them, you should have beat them yesterday. Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
All right,
think
I want
that's
to
fair.
be clear that I think the Alley Cats are better. Also, because I will say, as I was saying, this game was a meaningless game and a home game for the Hustle. And if it were a meaningless game and a home game for the Alley Cats and the Alley Cats win, then both teams are 7-5.
Okay, Sam.
So
okay.
the
I like
record
that.
gap seems bigger than it actually is. And I mean, it's a bummer because this could have been like an actual playoff game. We could have really seen what was going down, but I don't know.
I think you can't ignore the plus 36 of the Hustle on the season. And I mean, I don't know. Man, I don't know. Alley Cats have some great offensive stats too. But anyway, Ryan, what are you gonna say?
I mean, I guess it was because the Friday and Saturday, but I don't know about this whole meaningless thing, because like, it's not like this is like pro sports. Like, all these guys are playing Frisbee because they love Frisbee and they want to play Frisbee, and they're very fucking competitive. Like, I think both teams were trying as hard as they could to win because they want to win. Like, I don't think the Alley Cats were dogging it because they knew they already made the playoffs. But I mean, there may be a roster saying that they rested some people that I'm missing, so we can check that out. Let's see. Do we have the roster?
Let's see. How many points were there? 44?
Well, let's did Cam Brock play a lot? Because
Yeah, it looks like their top guys played a good amount.
so.
Oh, also, I think these are the top 2 huck percentage teams for the year, which is which is cool. It would have been cooler if the Rascals had won and Indy did need this game. Maybe we could have seen some more hucks, but you know, this is a little tidbit, interesting tidbit.
Yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
can agree with this being our list, but I do disagree with that positioning. And I think I don't know, that Hustle loss to the Soul was just so bad. Like, I don't know. They had the playoffs in their hands and they just
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Soul's
I mean, that's
good.
got to be the worst quarter I've ever seen.
mhm.
do we like where Madison's at?
Yeah.
Oh, the last thing I will say, I just think to our credit, I think we're doing a good job because every time I just like peek at these team stats and we're talking about two teams, I mean, Hustle first in the league in huck percentage at 75. Alley Cat's right behind them at second. So I mean, they're formidable in a lot of ways. Like a lot of these teams that we're like discussing are next to each other on this list for a reason, you know.
Mhm.
And they just played a close game. Like they're good matchups.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right. Moving on to B. Everyone who played this weekend kind of took care of business the way we all thought they would.
Yep.
The only game that was not a blowout was the Growlers, but I mean it's still won by 6 to the Spiders. We've gotten D. And the other 3 teams, you know, we're playing what F and Mechanics tier teams. So they you know they showed that they're
Yeah.
not a bad team.
Yeah, we got 30-10, 32-16, 25-19. What am I missing? Oh, 28-9 and 24-18. Yeah. So the 2 close games were close, relatively close for these 2 teams. So
I'm gonna say
checks
it.
out.
I don't think the Growlers are that good.
Mm,
I don't think by any means they're a bad team, and I don't necessarily say drop them to the C tier, but like, you know, listen to some of these games, right? They lost to the Shred by 2. That's fine. They only beat the Spiders by 2. Then they beat the Aviators by 5, solid. But then they only beat the Cascades by 2. They only beat the Nitro by 2. They beat LA by 1. They lost to the Shred by 5. They lost to the Summit by 6. They beat the Summit. That was a great game. They beat the Summit by 3. Then they beat Cascades by 4, and then Portland by 5, and then they ended the season with a nice solid win against the Spiders by 6. But like,
No blowout
aside from those
wins.
last 3 games being 5, 5, and 6, this whole season was like losing to good teams and beating bad teams by 2 points.
that's a good point. Not a lot of blowouts there, like you see for especially the Shred, but these 3 teams kind of pulling off. Did the Philadelphia Phoenix have any blowout wins? I know they had like a ton of close games too.
Yeah, they played some tight games. I think um
See, 1 point loss, 2 point loss, 1 point loss, 6 point loss, or no, 6 point win. 1
Against
point
who?
win, 2 points
Against
win.
Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah.
4 point win.
yeah, they beat Ottawa by 1. They lost to the Glory. No, they beat the Glory by 2. Sorry.
Yeah, so I guess they're pretty similar teams in that way. They don't have a ton of blowout wins,
Mhm.
but they have close losses to good teams and close wins to bad teams for the most part.
I'm looking at the Growlers schedule. I don't know. I think people in general are a little lower on the West Division, kind of when everything's all said and done. And a lot of their wins are pretty close, but they're still good. I mean, they got the job done, you know, that counts for something.
It does.
And I think they've got some great, if we're talking about like talent, you know, being a differentiating factor of these teams, like the Growlers have who are those dudes on their team? Like Helton and
Travis Dunn and Goose Helton.
Travis Dunn. Mhm.
yeah, those guys are sick. Like those guys are awesome. So I don't know.
Also Sean McDougal.
Yeah, they have some great players. They beat the Summit, you know, and we were so high on the Summit. I think the Summit are still like I think the Summit we can talk like real championship contenders, maybe in the coming minutes, but like they beat the Summit, that was a great win too. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. They did squeak out some wins against some pretty dookie teams. So I don't know where I stand. I always talk myself out of it, but the Growlers are 9-3. Like they could go win a playoff game. I don't know.
I mean, I think they could definitely go out and win a playoff game. I'm not really saying that I think they're a bad team by any means. I just like, I don't really see them as the same as Minnesota, or honestly the Shred for that matter. I think the Soul are better, but I also don't really think the Soul are in the same level as Minnesota or the Shred. But I feel like the Growlers are a team that, is solid, but has gotten a little bit lucky, maybe a little bit unlucky. Just, I don't know. I don't think they're.
So you think they're maybe in the C group?
Yeah.
Like the Hustle are good and they're there.
Yeah, but like, what happens if the Hustle and the Growlers play? Who wins that game? Because like, I don't know. That's a close game in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I could see these two buddies being the top of C.
And maybe we put some more playoff teams in C to kind of say like, C is still a playoff tier,
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's worth saying like these guys are sort of outside shots, whereas these teams could reasonably, make a run.
Yeah, I think vibes wise too, this just kind of feels good for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and now we have a nice bell curve, so that's good.
Ulti Planet, eat your heart out.
I'm about to double down on an earlier take. I think the Hustle are underrated. The Hustle have 4 losses. One of them is to the Soul. Can you guys guess who the other 3 losses are to?
Wait, was that loss to the Soul the like deciding game for them to miss the playoffs that they just kind of choked and blew?
It was
the loss you're talking about.
But earlier in the season, the Hustle have already beaten the Soul. So the Hustle and the Soul are 1-1. So I would argue that whoever's at home field, they're pretty close in comparison.
Yeah.
But who
Also,
the other 3 losses are that the Hustle have?
I mean, they're all the Flyers, right?
They're all the Flyers.
Yeah. I will also say that the Hustle have the 4th best defense in terms of scores against this whole year. They only gave up 17.75 per game. Only
they have a
the
ton of low-scoring games.
Wind Chill, Flyers, and Empire were better.
So I guess my point is we were going to the tiers. Like I was kind of fine having the Hustle as the top of C because the other teams were in the playoffs. But as soon as you bounce
Ryan, sorry, listen to their wins. Cannons, Soul, Cannons, Legion, Cannons, Legion, Alley-Cats.
So they play the best team in the second best team in the league, like A-tier teams and the garbage. That's scheduling. Like I don't know what you're supposed to do about that.
Well, I mean, you can't be like they have 8 wins when 7 of them are, or 6 of them are Legion and Soul.
Well,
I mean, yeah, like really
the real thing
like
is
all
that
the other divisions have sort of these middle of the road teams.
Yeah.
So you end up with like a 6-6 team,
I think
their 8-4 is not as good as it looks.
Yeah, I think they're the perfect C because they lose to the teams that are better and they beat the teams that are worse. So they're average. Like they're in the middle.
There's not an argument on either side because they play the Flyers who are they're in their own tier and they play the bottom team. So it's not like.
Well, there is an argument because the one game they had to win, they lost.
If they were to play all these mediocre teams, there's a chance that they beat them or lose them, but we don't know just by looking at it.
Yeah, that's why it's up to us. But I'm saying
we have to
when
base
they
Exactly,
play a
that's
pivotal, when they play a pivotal playoff game and lose and totally blow it, I think that's indicative of how they would fare if they had a schedule full of middle of the road teams.
It's fair.
The only
I think that was the most meaningful hustle game that we saw because they played garbage or a team better than them, and they blew it.
Even if it was fluky and it's not indicative, it's like literally the only thing we have to base them off of. If you're not playing one of the best or one of the worst teams, yeah, we have to base it off of the Seoul game, and they lost that
better
game.
than the Phoenix and maybe better than the Growlers.
I really disagree.
I'm also not that high in the Phoenix though, but I don't think they're better than the Growlers. I don't think they're better than the Growlers.
Yeah, we all know how Joe feels about the Phoenix, but
I don't think they're very good.
No, I don't think the Phoenix are that great either. I don't think the Phoenix are that great either, but I'm also wearing this hat. But I mean, like we're laboring over this discussion to like what, move the hustle over the Phoenix, and that's it. I mean, Ryan, are you saying they're better than the Growlers too?
I think they're at least better than the
Cannons
Phoenix.
Wins.
And nonetheless, this is making great content.
there are probably 6 or 7 teams in the C and D group that if you gave them the hustle schedule, they would go 8-4.
Wow.
I would argue 7 and 5.
Okay, sure, but like,
should we be spicy and move the Phoenix down?
Same thing.
No,
I want to move the Phoenix down.
They would go 6 and 6 because they would lose to the Soul.
No, I'm saying all these teams could steal a game from the Soul at home.
I don't think so.
You think all those teams lose every game again? Like the Soul are good, but I think they're beatable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they won 2 home games against a good team and a mediocre team. And other than that, they did exactly what any team would do. So
by that logic, there's no argument to go up or down, but looking at them and the eye test and how Phoenix plays and how Atlanta plays, I think Atlanta's better.
I want to move Atlanta over Phoenix too, maybe for different reasons, but
I vote yay.
Damn,
yeah, I know I'm in the minority. I think you guys are all blinded by their 8 wins, but Atlanta's really not been that good.
For me, it's not about the 8 wins. Like Sam, you laid out a fantastic argument, and I agree with you. Like, I think that if you put like these C or D teams in the Hustle's schedule, I think you get a similar result. I do agree with you, but I just think that there's vibes, and I think there's talent, and they choked hard.
How are you getting good vibes from this team that choked so hard and the only
because they're good,
that
dude.
mattered?
I want to make it clear. I'm moving them up, not because of them. I'm moving them up because of Philadelphia.
That's also where I'm leaning to, Sam. Like it's also Philly. Like, but I don't know. You seem higher on Philly. I'm sorry, Sam. This is not the.
I'm pretty high in Philly. They had a rough start, but I mean, similar to the Growlers, I think they're a pretty similar team.
Yeah, and Philly lost. Like we talk about these 1-win games, and we detract from teams. Like when we're talking about the Aviators, and we're like, oh yeah, they won these games, but it was by 1 point. And the Philly is on the other end of that argument, where it's like they lost all these games by like 1 point. Like
right,
exactly. They're not a bad team, but I think I really think we're really splitting hairs, because it's like, what are we arguing? We're either arguing Hustle being 1 left or 1 right of Philly. At the end of the day, they're in the same.
I would argue that this podcast needs more arguments.
This has been great. This is the most like disagreement that we've had. But yeah, I think I lean Hustle up just because. Yeah, I don't know, just because vibes wise a little bit, kind of comes down to that for me. And
also to another point, like it doesn't matter if we disagree because it's a fucking opinionated tier list.
Yeah.
I will also say that the Hustle held the Flyers to 16, 18, and 22. That last one's not that impressive, but 16 and 18 is a little bit impressive.
I think that's pretty impressive.
But the Hustle just run that zone all the time, so. I mean, all their games kind of turn out like that.
Yeah,
it's true.
But the Hustle also only beat the Legion by 3, and they did blow that game in pretty epic.
Yeah, they almost lost to the Legion.
The Legion.
Ryan, get
Maybe
the
we
fuck
go
out of
Philly.
here.
Maybe we go
Uh,
Philly.
You know
get
what?
the
I
fuck
might
outta
be. I
here.
might be Philly.
Get out of here.
What? You bring up
Thank you.
one game, you bring up
Uh,
one game, and you get these fools to jump ship. Oh my god.
That was a bad.
Against Dallas.
Dallas
Oh my God,
lost
they
to the
only-
Cannons, guys.
Oh, they only
Dallas-
beat. They only beat the Cannons by 2 and then 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We're talking about
But
three
similar-
teams that are
similar to what I was
third in their
saying.
division. Like
Their close losses and their close wins are all just kind of because of how they play, I think. But
Like-
yeah,
all three of them are third in their division. Like forget being 8 and whatever. Let's say they're all 6 and 6. Like let's just say that. You could be splitting hairs. I bet I could go find a game where the Phoenix did something bad or the Growlers did this.
yeah,
and
of
that.
course you could.
It's
Yeah,
so
but,
hard.
I mean,
it's so hard
Because
because
they're all just
It hurts. It hurts to say this, but Philly was 2 points away from forcing overtime twice in a row against the Breeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really
How about when
This
Philly lost to
exercise-
Boston?
Yeah, but that was Boston at home. That's what we're talking about. I think what I'm saying is
How about when Philly lost to Montreal?
we have a body of work of Philly against these teams that are actually middle of the road. And the hustle, we only have them against garbage teams, and they haven't beaten the garbage teams by as much as I would expect them to with how good you're claiming them to be.
I feel
So
like it's
would you
also
expect
already
Philly
a
to
win
beat
for the
Boston
hustle. It's a
and
win
Philly
for the
by a
hustle that
lot?
we brought both of them down to the hustle's C tier.
That's all I'll give the hustle.
Philly beat Boston by 2 in Philly, and Boston's an E already, and that was away.
So what?
Maybe it was windy, Ryan. You don't know. What was
it
the
was
wind
just
speed?
that
We
one
just
week.
don't
We'll
know.
chalk it
Ryan.
up to the win.
All
um,
I'm saying is Philly had a whole season of actual real games, and the hustle had 5 real games.
So you're
Six-
blaming
six
it
real
on the
games?
scheduling. What does that have to do with how good a team is?
I'm not blaming on the
It's-
scheduling. I'm saying that I'm
Sure.
basing my opinion of them based on how they performed against their schedule, which was not that good.
There's only
You
like
have
one
to
game
adjust-
we can
Mm.
judge the
know.
hustle on, and they lost it.
yeah.
What I can't get from your point, Sam, is that I look at your same like thing. I'm looking at their schedule. They played the Flyers, who are in the S tier, like their own tier, and they lost. Okay, they beat the Soul and they lost to the Soul. So like, or they're around the Soul.
They
And then
lost
they beat
the
everyone
game
else.
they had to win against the Soul.
Yes, that is one game that they lost, but they beat them.
It's
around.
that's what I'm saying. It's their only important game of the year, and they lost it. Not only did they lose it, but they absolutely shit their pants and blew it.
So they lose.
I'm saying
one
that's all I have to
game,
judge them
but
on, and
Phoenix-
that's all I'm going to judge them on.
I don't think that's as big as that brings them down below Phoenix as Phoenix losing to Montreal and the Glory.
Yeah, they were, but we were like okay with them being a tier below Phoenix like 15 minutes ago.
Here's where the disconnect
things have
comes.
changed.
I
And then
think
they beat
Ryan.
Dallas back.
I think Ryan thinks that if they were given the chance, that they're underrated because they would do better if they played those middle of the road teams over the course of a whole season. That one game that they lost that they had to win, that we're really punishing them for. It's a small sample size,
Well-
maybe I'm just that's just kind of like where you're
Yeah,
coming from, Ryan. I
it
feel
is.
like. And
So-
Sam, where
yeah.
you're coming from, you're like, they played these dookie teams and they donked on them. And like any of these teams would have done that, and we don't.
Yeah.
So I see where both of you guys are coming from. I think that Philly's in the playoffs, Hustle's not. Philly had some close losses to some great teams. Like I like where they're at right now. I don't think Hustle needs to be ahead of Phoenix. I'm sorry, Ryan, but like I see where you're coming from, and I
My
think
last point, and then we can move on to A tier because or B tier because I don't care that much.
Oh, well, if
15
you want to
minutes-
move on, you don't get to have the last word.
15 minutes
So
ago,
why
I
don't we
was
just
okay
move
with
on?
them being in a different tier because they were in the playoffs and Hustle's not. Now that they're in the same tier, we have to talk about they're not in the playoffs because they have less teams in their division. So even though they're
That's also
third,
why their
they're not
record
in
is
the
so
playoffs.
good, Ryan. That's also
but
why
if
their
ahead-
record is so
played
good.
on a neutral field, I think the Hustle would win.
Their
They're
record
ahead-
is so good because they're in a smaller division
Forget their
that's made
record.
up of.
Just them as a team.
Ryan,
If they
listen
played
to
on
me.
a neutral field, I think they
You
would
have
win.
to listen to. You can't
You're-
say that their small division is the reason they're not in the playoffs, so they would have been in the playoffs. When the small division is the reason they're 8-4, because they get to play the Cannons and the Legion way more times a year than
They
anyone
played
else
But
plays.
if you
five
throw
bottom
Phoenix
teams.
and Alley Cats in their division, then they're in the playoffs. That's my
I
point.
disagree. I totally
Whoa.
disagree.
Okay,
I don't know
that's
about
an
that.
opinion.
That's
They
what I'm
played five
saying. That's what I'm
quality
saying.
games.
If they had another real team in their division, they would not be 8-4. They would be in 4th place.
I think if Philly and the Alley Cats were in their division, they'd be in the playoffs. They'd be the third in that division.
I strongly disagree.
They played 5 quality games and they lost 4 of them.
There you go.
Yes, and 3 of those games were to one of the best teams in the league. We're talking about teams that lose to Empire, and it's like, okay, it's Empire. Flyers are right there.
Yeah, but
The
I'm
Soul
not.
beat the Flyers.
Yeah,
And the Soul
I'm
are
not
good.
saying nobody
Yes,
has said the
and the
Hustle
Hustle
are
are not
C tier
good.
because they lost to the Flyers.
Yeah.
They're C tier because they lost the worst game I've ever seen blown by a professional sports team.
Okay, look, we've
don't know
given
about
the
that,
Hustle,
but-
we've given the Hustle enough respect by putting them above a playoff team. I think that's
Which
enough for me. That makes
For
me
the
happy.
record, I also think that was wrong, but sorry.
Yeah, and that's kind of like our compromise, already. Sam wants to drag him even lower, and I disagree with that, but I do still have him. I like where it's at. Like, am I the only one who's happy?
Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, if the Radicals were in the Hustle division, there's no way they wouldn't be 8-4 or better,
Hold on. If the Radicals were in the Hustles division, you think?
like in their play.
Are we saying like taking out one of the bad teams or just inserting them?
Just
in?
swapping them with the Hustle.
I think the Radicals go 7-5 because
Okay.
they lose. I think the Radicals lose to the Soul both times.
Okay, that's fair. They did lose to the Soul, so
Yeah, that's what I think happens. So I think Hustle are in a good spot.
all right, moving on. Are the Soul better than the Shred?
The Shred are second in the league in scores, and the Soul are, still up there but further down. The Shred are very low in completion percentage.
Yeah, they
The
turn
Shred
it
are-
over a lot.
They turn it over way too much. The Soul almost beat the Union. The Soul beat the Flyer. They beat a Flyers team that were missing some key players, but that's still a great win. Man, the Shred turned it over a lot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where if
Yeah.
we're allowed to. Okay, let's look at some defense stuff. Soul are ahead of the Shred in D line conversion. Soul are ahead of the hold on. Shred are like Soul are third in break percentage, Shred are fourth in break percentage. So there's basically their defense is
wow.
very similar. Again, when we're like talking about these teams, like they're always like right next to each other and all the shit I'm looking at.
Mhm.
Let's look at scores against. Empire are tops. They allow the fewest points, which makes sense.
Surprising.
Shred and Soul are like neck and neck at scores against too. It's Soul, Growler, Shred.
That's interesting. In that case, I would be happy to keep the Shred above, just because I think offensively the Shred are better,
Yeah.
at least
Also,
more
if you-
dangerous.
If you can turn the disc over that many times and still have one of the better like scores against, I think that's pretty impressive for your
Mhm.
your O line's defense, I guess, at least.
You
Yeah.
guys want to hear something crazy? Who do you think is first in the league in completions?
Just total number of.
Just total completions. We've all played the same number of games this year. So these counting stats, we can finally look at them. Who has the most completions?
Flyers.
Flyers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oh,
Flyers are
yeah.
sixth. Guess who's
Alley
first?
Cats. Alley Cats.
Alley Cats
Yeah, they
are
huck it too
fourth.
much.
Alley Cats are
Okay.
fourth. The Spiders are first in completions.
Wow.
Let's go.
That blows my freaking mind. What is going on there? Their offense must just be really dinky dunky. I don't know. Anyway, that's just an aside, but I thought that was fascinating. Let's keep Shred above Soul. I don't know. The Shred, I feel like the Shred have that'd be such a fun matchup. I would love to watch that game. That'd be a fun fucking game to watch.
Definitely.
I think the Shred are just such a volatile team. Like they just have such a good offense, but they turn it so much that like that would allow the other team to win. Like the Soul would take advantage of those turns.
Right.
Yeah, I think so too. I also just like think it's crazy that the Shred will play like a relatively tight game against like the Spiders or the Cascades or like the Aviators. And then like in between those games, they'll just like double up on Portland for some reason.
Yeah. I think they have crazy playmakers. And like just that'll put it some highlight plays more so than maybe some other teams. So like I think that's just why they just have this like kind of place in my head because of like that play that one dude got against Portland or whatever, where he was just like full horizontal, just like sniffed out the D. I can't remember exactly the play, but also
like,
the one against
like end of the quarter, right? Like right in the corner.
I think so.
It was for a buzzer beater. Yeah. Like
and then
he got the D.
Yeah, like I don't know. They just have some like crazy athletes out there. So they can go if they need to watch those turns and they could beat any team, honestly. But the turns are just it'll keep them in B. That's what's keeping them in B. So I like him above the Soul. Does anyone disagree with Shred above Soul?
I don't think so.
We also shout out Jordan Kerr for leading the league in both assists and plus minus.
Wow. MVP.
Congrats.
Yeah.
But let's take a little break and look at some leaders. So we've got a friend of the pod leading the assists. We've got another friend of the pod leading goals.
Another friend of the pod, third in assists.
Pavel.
Oh,
also fourth in assists.
And
another Cut's a friend of the pod.
Enemy of the pod right after that.
Yeah.
All right, can I just say, because I saw Leandro Marx live in person, that guy good.
Yeah. Yeah, he's so good.
Like they would just throw it deep to him and like, oh my God. Like he must have like had so many yards yesterday. It was insane.
We have to get him on the podcast. Oh my God.
5'11" Brett Holzmeyer, third.
Yeah, third in blocks.
That's
I was gonna say Mark's, like, look how much he led by in receiving yard.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean
it's just so much.
Future friend of the pod, fourth in plus minus and second receiving yards, Quinn Finer. Check him out for an upcoming episode. If you've made it this far, spoilers, we're trying to plan an upcoming episode with him.
Yeah. Did you say he was in a Oh, go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say we've got a few potential interviews coming up that we've got to plan out.
Any AUDL players out there, you think you'd make a good podcast guest and you've made it this far, reach out to us on Twitter and we'll try to set something up.
Literally, all you have to do is ask, and you're accepted. Please come on. We love having you guys come on the podcast.
And a get well soon to Quinn too. He kind of had a scary collision. I talked to him about it. He said he's very concussed, but he says he'll live. So hopefully he gets better soon for the playoffs.
Please get well.
That's
soon.
not good.
Glad to hear it.
Finer also fourth in plus minus.
Yeah,
I want to shout out Lotto being 10th in yards.
Yeah, dude, he was carrying the distribution for the Aviators all season. I mean, dude was lighting it up. He was the one making the throws.
That middle of the year stretch where he and Everest were really like showing, they were getting like 5 or 6 connections a game for goals.
Yeah.
A lot of Shapiro connection. The announcers were noticing it almost every
Look
game.
out for that in years to come.
Yeah, sure.
No. Well, it's never too early to get started on Everest's sophomore of the year campaign. So.
Absolutely.
Which I think Lotto wins the sophomore of the year. Oh, Jordan Kerr is a sophomore.
Oh, yeah.
I eat my words immediately. Okay, let's carry on. Wind chill. Are they above the Shred and the Soul?
gonna say yes.
That's a
I'm gonna
tricky
say
one.
yes.
It's tricky.
I'm gonna
Yes. I'm gonna say yes.
yes.
What are the wind chills losses? Let me look it up. They're 9-3.
Chicago.
That's really good.
Yeah, they lost to Chicago. They lost to Madison.
Oh, that's a tough L.
They also
And
doubled Madison
In
Yeah.
Chicago again.
they
Beat
also,
them
yeah, they also,
too.
yeah, they beat Madison at home, like in Madison.
11-20.
Yeah, and they doubled them up.
The wind chill.
They also beat the Union.
They beat the Union.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so they lost twice to the Union, beat the Union once, and lost to the Radicals once.
Also beat
Okay.
Detroit by 19.
They lost to Detroit by 19.
No, they beat Detroit by. I wish Detroit had won by 19.
I do
Oh
think
my
I
God.
do think the Winchell are the last team that Detroit beat.
Oh, move
I
him
was
down.
looking at
Move him
that.
down.
What, 6 years ago?
Yes.
That's not good. That's not good at all.
Let
Yeah,
me,
that's tough.
Mechanics. Go back 7 pages. Oh no, it was Chicago. And then
Oh,
the
no.
Winchell started their losing streak. So I'm sorry, Winchell fans. I didn't mean to
Yeah.
disrespect you like that.
Wow. Hey, wait, was Pavel in that game? Can we see how Pavel
Yes,
did? in that?
yes, he was.
Wait, 13-31. Oh, how'd he do? Oh, there's our guy.
Dude,
Tied for
2
assists?
assists,
Only
2
2?
blocks also. 52
Ooh.
completions.
Papagiannis, defensive stud.
Wow.
Yikes.
Underrated for his defense. Pavel,
not very
what
good.
gives Pavel?
Yeah.
Next time
All
we
right.
have him on, we gotta
Yeah, I gotta get
ask
into
him about that one. Okay, Winchell above those two. We're good with that. I'm okay with it.
So,
They even beat
Yeah, I
the
do
Union
think they're
once,
better.
and yeah, okay, that's cool. Breeze, are the Breeze lower in the A tier? Are the Breeze's only losses to Empire, and
Yeah,
they
just
almost lost to Boston, but they also
They
almost lost
to
almost
Toronto.
lost to Philly.
Is there
Yeah.
anything since
They have
last week
close. They have
that
close
has made
losses,
us
but
wanna change this tier?
Yeah, I don't think anything above this really needs to be changed.
yeah.
No, but I do also want to shout out the Union. I feel like they've really cemented their place, and
Yeah,
they were kind of up and down a little bit before, but they look really good right now.
Hold on. I think if there's anything to talk about, it is could Union go above Summit? Is there an argument for that? Because I think there might be, because they have the same record and the same plus minus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
Oh yeah,
let's
speaking of
talk.
that,
Let's
speaking
talk.
of that, I want Daniel Cohen to clear this up for us, because if the Empire lose, for example, and these two teams are your 1 and 2, like who's the 1 and who's the 2?
Did they
Yeah, they reseed for
They
championship
reseed?
weekend.
Didn't we asked him and he gave us like all of the things?
Probably.
I think he was like, I don't know, or it's a coin flip or something.
Did we ask the stats people? The
Yeah.
AUDL stats?
I did, and they said ask Daniel Cohen.
Oh, okay. Wow.
I think he said he like really didn't know.
He said head-to-head record, then point differential, then if they're still tied, I'm not sure.
They have the
Yeah.
same point diff.
Yeah, they didn't play each other. They don't have a head-to-head record.
Yeah, so I want to know that.
Did any teams that they play each other?
Oh man.
The roundabout head-to-head record?
I don't know. Did the West do any crossovers?
I don't know.
I feel like they did not.
One of us should DM him and be like, "Hey Daniel, happy birthday." Anyway,
Yeah.
what happens if the Empire lose and the Union and the Summit are reseeded?
Yeah, no, I was gonna ask him, and I was like, oh wait, it's his birthday. I'll give him the day off. But
There's
what
a
if they
case-
have to play each other?
mhm.
That'd be funny. There's a case to be made for Union over Summit, but as you know, all-time goal leader Cam Brock said, it kind of spells subscribe to our channel. So hit that subscribe button below and subscribe.
Okay.
If we
What about
change it, it could
USB?
be
That's
US
pretty good.
Yeah, USB.
Where are the Summit are what 5th in completion percentage, and what are we looking at? The Union are
The Union have a better quality loss if we're talking in college football terms. They have a higher quality loss
to the wind chill. And the Growlers beat the Summit. Yeah, that was a tough L.
Yeah, yes. And the Union have 2 wins over Minnesota, and the Summit have 2 wins over the Shred. So they both have two B wins. Should we just count it out by like tier wins?
Were the Union?
Oh, that's interesting.
That is actually pretty interesting.
We could try. We could see.
Let's do it and see what happens.
All right. So the Summit, so they're tied on B tier wins. The Summit have 1 C tier win and 1 C tier loss. And the Union have, I would imagine, 4 or 5 C tier wins.
You didn't have a B tier loss.
Yes.
Yeah, because they lost to Minnesota.
But they have the same amount of wins, at least, in the B tier. And then they have, let's see, Radicals, Cats, Radical. Yeah, so they're 4-0 against C tier. Versus 1-1.
Have the Union had any notable injuries? Because the Summit lost Atkins before the Growlers game, which I think has had a huge impact, and now Finer's hurt.
They were missing Goff during the World Games. I forget which game that coincided with.
I think they won that game.
They still would have won.
Yeah, it was this Minnesota game that they won.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big loss roster wise.
I think there's an argument for Union over Summit. I think it kind of comes down to what do you like? What do you think? Which loss do you value more, or like feel like should be punished more? The Growlers played excellently in that game.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much of a like knock to the Summit we want to give to them for that, because the Growlers looked really good. But and the Growlers are top of C, I don't know. Ryan, you're the Summit fan. You have Summit over. We know where your head's at.
They're pretty good at Frisbee.
They are pretty good at Frisbee. It's Seth Ferris, friend of the pod, is on the Summit. Pavlianis, friend of the pod, is on the Union.
Oh, tough.
This is neck and neck.
This is really close. I think I lean Summit. I don't know why, but I think they're better. All right. I don't know. Here's my thinking. I would have been surprised if the Union had gone 12-0 this season, but I don't think I would have been surprised if the Summit had gone 12-0. And I don't know, maybe that's like
the schedule thing.
Yeah, like potentially that's because of scheduling, but like the Shred are good, and I still kind of expected. I mean, at this point, like looking back, because I know I picked the Shred both times. Like looking back, I feel like the Summit are the better team, and like I wouldn't have been surprised if they hadn't lost a single game. But the Union, I don't know, they're good. They're very good, but they also played some like rough games in the middle and kind of got lucky against like the Alley Cats. And like even Pavel said that they probably should have lost that game. And
they still won, They pulled out the dub. They beat this. They came back against the Soul.
I think
that's right. That's right. They have 3.
They beat the Soul. Yeah.
Huh.
I'll tell you guys, the vibes over here are immaculate.
Vibes wise,
the Summit players, like, they're so fun to watch. They just make sick plays after sick plays, and they just look way more athletic than the people they play against.
Yeah, and man, like talk about like just kind of peacocking around. Those Summit players, like Quinn Finer is out there, and Jay Fruit and Alex Atkins, they're just walking around. They must know how handsome they are. They're just
Yeah.
peacocking. They're just peacocking on the
they're
sideline.
best.
Like,
Most
man,
underrated handsome player on the team is Matthew Edgy. He is gorgeous, and he just got a haircut. I don't know how I feel about it because before he had long hair, and
let's
but
not forget Cody Spicer, our
Oh,
rain pants king.
friend of Ryan.
Friend of Ryan. Oh man.
All right.
I- my
I think
head-
I'm
my-
ready for my opinion, but if you've got yours, Elu, go for it.
My head says Union, but my heart says Summit. And I think this tier list is a little bit, it's just kind of both. But maybe
is
we just leave
both.
Summit over. Oh man, would Union moving up? I mean, that's exactly what Pavel said too would happen. He was like, we're B right now. We're not, but we're gonna be A going into championship weekend, right? Like it's kind of played out exactly how he said.
He's a smart
Yeah.
guy.
I think my opinion, it's definitely close. I think my opinion is I have the Union over the Summit. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one is actually, hold on. Let me take a look at the stats because I don't want to.
They're like right next to each other in a lot of the stats.
Yeah.
I was thinking about turnovers, so I didn't want to discredit the Summit if
The Summit are number one in the league in hucks. Just throwing the hucks, which is pretty cool. And they're still pretty tops in completion percentage,
Okay.
given that they're the first in hucks.
so the Summit are better at turnover. I expect them to be worse. Okay, so I have to think more then. I was gonna say, when I was watching their one loss, it just seemed like there was maybe a formula to beat the Summit if like their O-line doesn't really get it back that well. If you don't challenge them deep, basically. Like I think that game in particular, Nethercut had a lot of turnovers. So that's sort of a prerequisite for this strategy. But it felt to me like if you're patient working it back, you'll be fine.
The Summit give up the third fewest opponent break percentage. I'm trying to find the stat that matches what you're talking about.
No, yeah. I mean,
Opponent break percentage.
it's really more specific to this like game because
Mhm.
most of their games, obviously, they're playing teams much worse than them, and they're going to beat them really well. But I think when you basically because of that, I feel like I'm more comfortable saying that the Union will be at championship weekend than I am saying the Summit will be. And I don't know if I'm even right about that. That might just be more of a vibe thing, but I think I trust the Union to take care of business more than I do the Summit because I could see the Shred just showing up and lighting it up against the Summit. I don't know.
I feel like I could also see Minnesota doing a similar thing.
That's fair, but so for me it was that plus the quality loss. I think that's a fun thing to to base stuff on, and then just the better wins overall, at least according to our tiers.
Union have an 82% red zone percentage, and the Summit have a shockingly like low one. They're like 76, which is like kind of mid in the league. I don't think that's like the entire thing to base it off of, but
you were saying earlier that completion percentage, Summit have a 94.16 and the Union have a 93.99.
I think when they're that close,
very
it's just
close.
like a non. They're the Summit are what, like fifth or sixth? They're fifth, and then the Union are seventh. So they're so close at that point. It's like that's the difference of like a couple throws. I feel like. So I don't know. That to me, that's like kind of a that's kind of a wash. I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh
Also,
wow.
when you look at all the stats, the Union get to play the Mechanics twice a year, which is just like a bunch of free stats.
Yeah, I mean,
But the
I
Summit
think
play the Nitro.
the lowest
You
of the
started
low.
hot.
The
That's
lowest
fair.
of the low in the Central is much lower than the lowest in the West, but I think overall, game to game, I think it's the Central's a harder division to be in because you guys
Yeah.
gotta have,
Yeah,
like,
if we want
I
to
think
look at
so,
our
too.
tiers, the Union against B and C teams are 7-1, and the Summit are 3-1. So it's just like
but do we
based
want
on
to?
based on our own estimation, they have the tougher schedule.
The one thing I'll say is, like, do we want to? I don't think we want to punish the Summit too much for just being in the division that they're in and getting the job done against the lower
Yeah.
teams, you know. Yeah, I don't know. um this is completely off topic, but the wind chill are second in the league in opponent hold percentage.
I saw that. Yeah.
And I think that's purely because of today's game. Like, but anyway, I digress. Who's in favor of Ryan's in favor of Summit staying, Sam's in favor of Union moving up. I really can't decide, but I'm leaning Union moving up. Joe, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm like, I can't decide, but I'm leaning Summit staying high.
Oh my gosh, we're split.
We're kind of split right down the middle.
If we're
here.
split, I say we just keep it the same.
Or we could do like a flip a coin website for the
Maybe.
drama.
Yeah, we could. I don't know. I
And then
don't
we
want to
can
leave
post
it.
I
a
mean, if
clip.
that's-
We
I
can
mean,
post a
that might
clip
be-
of the coin flipping.
I mean, for all we know, that might be the tiebreak at
Right.
championship
For the
weekend.
seeding,
So
it's
I'm
true.
okay with I'm okay with it.
All right.
They
I'm
are
also okay with
honestly
it.
about as even as it can get, and I really hope they play each other.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm
that'd be
doing
so
it.
sick.
Flip a coin website.
All right.
Summit.
I say Summit is heads because they're currently in first, and that's home field advantage.
Okay.
Okay.
Tails
And
never
hold
fails,
on,
baby.
hold on. I don't want to count this unless it shows it rotating because that's
Yeah.
more dramatic. So I'm just going to do a test run. We're not going to count this no matter what.
This doesn't count no matter what.
Okay, it does flip. So this doesn't count, but the next one is going to be it. All right.
No, count it.
Oh,
Count
yeah,
it.
this
Count
counts,
it. Count
this
it.
Count it.
All right. Are we ready?
I like the sound it makes.
Me too.
Wait, no, do one more practice. Do one
Yeah,
more.
One more
yeah.
practice just to see.
One more
Yeah.
practice. This doesn't count. This doesn't count. Fuck, Joe. If it's heads
Doesn't
again,
count. Doesn't count. Doesn't count.
Wait, this is practice?
No.
Yeah,
Oh my
that-
God. Keep- no,
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 what
no,
are you
it's
They
a-
called for
We have
another
two heads in a
practice.
row. For
All
our-
right, no. Keep doing practices until we see a tails, and then the next one. All right, that's what I want.
No, I'm gonna do this one. Is it?
This is the real one.
Wait. Reload the page. Reload the page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reload.
Sam,
I want
refresh the page.
Center in and
Yeah.
go back to something.
All right.
Okay.
Heads, it's the Summit. Tails, it's the Union.
This is it.
Beach photos for Brave. Sorry. Got distracted. And here we go. Oh, it's so much faster.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
What are the
All right.
odds?
it's heads.
Let's go, Summit.
Let's go.
Even though I was like
That's,
super on the fence.
Yeah.
That was
That's our tier
electric
list.
right there.
Can
That was
we-
content.
If they need to flip a coin at championship weekend, should I like bring my laptop with this website and be like, yo, Daniel,
Yeah.
Yo, look at these. That beach girl is pretty cute. Maybe you should click on that link. It's kind of malware.
there it
we can
is.
get.
Cryogenically
For,
freeze it for
all right.
6
Here's our
8
tier list.
months.
For our
Yes, we can talk
Spotify
about it.
listeners who couldn't see that and also didn't understand from context of Ryan and I being very happy, it was heads.
3
So,
heads in a row.
Our final tier list is Empire tier, the Empire, S tier, the Flyers, A tier, Summit, Union, Breeze, B tier, Windchill, Shred, Soul, C tier, Growlers, Phoenix, Hustle, Alley Cats, Rascals, D tier, Aviators, Spiders, Royal, Rush, E tier, Thunderbirds, Cascades, Glory, Outlaws, F tier, Legion, Nitro, Cannons, and Mechanics tier, the Mechanics. And this will be our tier list until next April or something.
Wow.
What a season.
It's been a ride. It's been a ride, guys.
Absolutely.
It's been fun. I think it's funny how like we should get like a time lapse of how it's changed. That could be kind of cool.
That would be cool.
But it's funny how it's like kind of fluctuated, and then at the end of the day, here we are, and we have like this really nice looking normal curve. So we were so anti. We were so anti-normal curve like 2 weeks ago.
I know. I think mid-season it's not a normal curve because some teams are on a hot streak. You gotta reflect that. Some teams look like DP. You gotta reflect that. But when you have all the team's entire body of works in front of you, it's a little easier to sort them out.
Big shout out to Oakland, because I really didn't think they were good, and they really, I feel like, cemented themselves as a D tier team and like above some of those worst teams. And I thought they were atrocious to start the season, but they're not. They're a solid, bad team.
They lead the league in completions. So
but also it's like insane that they lead the league in completions and they have like a 2% worse completion percentage than the next highest team. They got like 92% instead of 94%. So they have like hella more turnovers.
They're pretty.
Yeah, wait, where are they in turnovers? Yeah,
they're about 6th.
Yeah. But hey, they completed a lot too. So
they just love to toss the disc. They love it.
They just like tossing it.
Tossing disc.
I think something that I've learned in this exercise of like comparing all these teams week to week is that I think more games would be helpful. I don't think we need more games per se, but more games. I feel like the season was pretty short. I'm like, but maybe it's good that it leaves me wanting more. But my other thing is we need more cross-divisional games. Because we maybe like our 10-minute conversation about Atlanta wouldn't have happened if we had, more of these cross-divisional games. We're comparing apples and oranges a lot of the time, I feel like. So that's kind of my takeaway. I would really like to see more of that. Do you guys have any other like takeaways? Anything we've learned from this?
It's really fun to be an AUDL media organization.
And very easy to do. It was as simple as here we are.
I really hope they do a Mechanics crossover next year with like the Cannons or Legion, or honestly just like any other team in that D tier. Like when you're looking at schedule, you know what? AUDL, if you are listening, because you're definitely not, come to us. We'll help you make the schedules. Like we'll figure it out. We'll look at costs and this and that. We'll make a good schedule, and I bet the fans will like it.
So that's how vibes.
Travel.
Also, if you need us to commentate any game, we'll research. We'll be well spoken. We'll do our best, and hit us up.
People will love it.
Yeah. We'll play juicy sips on live air.
We need to stream during some of the playoff games.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We should do that.
I'm gonna make this all down.
Could we like realistically do that? I guess there's like some software we might need to buy to like make that happen.
Yeah, it's not like we're making money off this. So it's like we don't need to monetize it.
Yeah. I wonder if I can link this Zoom account to the YouTube, then, because I know that the YouTube can live stream and we just need like a way to get all of our faces there. So if I can do that, that's probably the way. But all right.
I would definitely be down.
Oh, you could get OBS and screen capture this and stream that on Twitch.
Do we want to?
That's what I was wondering.
The pod and then discuss.
Yeah. Anyway, we can close it out. Thanks for listening, everybody. This was this has been so fun every year. Thanks to everyone who's like been commenting on our stuff. And
we're not
Yeah.
done. It sounds like a goodbye, but we are far from
no,
done.
we got more stuff planned.
Oh
We
my
got
God,
playoffs coming up. We're super excited for what we have coming up. So
more dumps.
Yeah.
Don't you worry.
We'll
What
find
an
stuff to do in the
inaugural-
off season, and then
I have so many
Well,
ideas.
I have
yeah,
some
we'll
great
cover all
ideas for
the
offseason.
off season signings and whatnot
Yeah.
as
Oh,
best we
wonderful.
can.
Yeah. Is there
And we'll be back.
are there AUDL tampering rules? Because I'm trying to get some people to come to the breeze.
I really don't think so.
Yo, Denver.
Come,
is a
everybody
good
come to
place
the breeze.
live. You can ski. You can hike.
Yeah, you can crash on Joe's couch.
You
and
can
play for
crash
the
on my,
breeze.
I got a great couch, and Sam actually paid for half of it, so you know it's a good couch.
Yeah, it's a good
Wow.
couch. It
That's
pulls out.
Sam's stamp of approval.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's huge.
Yeah. Hey,
All right.
Ryan Oscar, I feel like you'd be a good skier. Come over here.
Nah, he's staying in New York. If anything, he's going to move to Carolina because he plays ring.
That's true.
Which
All right.
I don't know why he plays ring because he went to Minnesota.
Who knows?
Who knows, man?
I don't know. But anyway, this has been
Uh,
the final regular season tier talk episode of I'm Open.
I'm open.
I'm
I'm open.
And thanks for watching. And we will see you whenever we do our playoff preview. I'm open.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
I'm open.
Bye, mom.